There is clear and present danger of an escalation, and joining me now for more from Kyiv is journalist Anna Basova. With me, our Foreign Affairs Editor Geeta Mohan and our colleague Sandeep Unithan. Anna, there is a real threat that this situation could get out of hand. There have been drone strikes and missile strikes. Is there an apprehension in Kyiv that things could escalate and deteriorate?
Well, having the fourth year of full-scale war and 12th year of regional war in Ukraine, there is almost nothing that can scare us. We have undergone through the massive rocket missile attacks. Now 3 nights, one by one, we had drone attacks, 250 drones just over Kyiv. So personally, I didn't sleep until 4 a.m. So I think there is hardly anything that can frighten us. And especially after having spent several winters with no electricity, no heating, no water supply, no mobile connection, no internet. So we have adapted to everything. There is nothing you can frighten us with. And talking about World War III, in my humble opinion, it is already unfolding, just that we do not call it World War III. But have a look, full-scale war in Ukraine,
Yes.
full-scale war in the Middle East between Israel and various terroristic organizations. Full-scale war between India and Pakistan. Now
No, it's not a full-scale war. It's not a full-scale war here. We just punished Pakistan, but that's more a 4-day punishment for Pakistan. But let me just come back, to the point, Geeta. Is this reflection of frustration when it comes to Donald Trump? Initially he said, let me just get to White House, this war will stop. 24 hours, I get into White House, this will stop. Now it's almost 130 days. It's actually, there's apprehension that this is escalating.
Well, two things. One, he maintains that these wars wouldn't have happened if he were in power. And secondly, his promises, he's failed there because he thought it would be very easy for him to tell both sides what to do and they'll do it. That's not how countries work. That's not how certainly Putin works. And yes, there's growing frustration when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war. He's not been able to resolve this one crisis. He's not been able to do anything about the Israel-Hamas conflict. And certainly has had nothing to do with the India-Pakistan, on the India-Pakistan front. So yes, growing frustration, and the Kremlin is really not stopping or allowing Trump the space to say what he wants to and get away with it. There's no getting away when it comes to Kremlin and Moscow. So yes, he's getting a response from Kremlin on a daily basis, and now Medvedev has also stepped in.
Okay, and Sandeep, if you were to look at the situation militarily, Russia striking, as Anna was just telling us, Russia is striking very close to Kyiv and in Kyiv. But then there are also Ukrainian drones that are targeting Moscow and other cities, including attempting to target fuel dumps, ammunition dumps. So from both sides, one, there is escalation point 1, and point 2, now Europe is going to give longer range weapons and remove the restrictions on use of longer range weapons to target Russia.
Absolutely, Gaurav. In fact, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has just said that there's going to be no range limits to any weapons that are going to be supplied to Ukraine. Now, that is a very, very big red line that has been crossed. And Merz obviously is speaking up for the entire Western alliance, which includes Germany, the US, and of course the UK and France. And now this means that a whole range of new weaponry could be supplied to Ukraine. It's not just going to be, in the past it used to be every little weapon system that was supplied, like the Army Tactical Missile System, the ATACMS, and then of course you had the Taurus and you had the Storm Shadow. All of these were in the 150, 250 and up to 500-kilometer range missiles. Now this new assertion by the German Chancellor potentially opens up a whole new range of weapon systems that could be supplied to Ukraine to strike deep into Russia. And that is one of the reasons that Medvedev has made that statement about warning of World War III, because, Gaurav, as we know, Russia revised its nuclear doctrine just last year in November. They came out with a new nuclear doctrine which said that not only would Russia respond if there was a catastrophic threat to the Russian homeland, but it would also respond to conventional threats made to the Russian homeland and, of course, their ally Belarus, this would mean that even it would now even look at conventional weapon strikes as a trigger to launch nuclear weapons. So we are actually heading into very dark and uncharted territory, Gaurav.
This is very, you know, as you rightly point out, this is dark and uncharted territory. And Anna, it does appear to be a rather scary situation, but is Ukraine getting the kind of weapons it wants and on time? Will longer range weapons or the restrictions being removed on use of longer range weapons, will that fuel this fire? Because just a couple of days ago, we were hearing that there could be direct conversation between President Putin and President Zelensky, and they would try and find a solution bilaterally. Or was that only, you know, talk with more action happening on ground?
Well, if you remember last week, Zelensky accepted the challenge and said, okay, if you are willing to talk to me, I will come to Istanbul. So what has happened? Zelensky arrived, our prime minister arrived, minister of military ministry arrived, but no Putin, no Lavrov, no one from Russian authorities. So this is the first factor. The second factor, you know, so-called red lines, there have been a variety of them since 2022. And each and every time they were crossed, nothing happened. At first, Russia alarmed, like, it is a red line you are crossing if you provide Ukraine with HIMARS systems. So HIMARS were delivered, were used. Kherson was liberated, nothing happened. Then another factor was announced to be a red line, but each and every time these red lines were crossed and nothing happened. So the notion red line is really being mocked at in Ukraine. Each and every time we hear red line, we start smiling because it has become a kind of an internet meme, but not a real threat. So now, of course, there is always a small probability that something might happen, but after having violated a lot of so-called Russian red lines, we see that they can like produce numerous threats, but actually they do nothing. They just then.
Are you getting the kind of weapons, you know, Ukraine requires to carry this fight through? Because in several areas, there were reports that Russia was gaining territory because Ukraine, they were fighting to protect every inch of territory, but weapons, ammunition, resources were not coming in time. And, you know, in this trench warfare, inch by inch, Russia was gaining territory and Ukraine was losing territory.
Actually, it's not about, well, long-range weapon is always needed. There can be no abundance of weapon at any war. But with that slow Russian advancing, it was another challenge. Yes, Ukrainians were stepping back, but when it is, there is a choice whether to save the territories or to save your army and then return back and win back the territories, but with the saved army. Of course, army is always a priority. You can always fight back for your territories, but you can never revive your army if the soldiers just swept away. And this was also a kind of strategic or tactical step to step a little bit back, but to save as much live army as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
And at the same time to kill as many soldiers, excuse me for such words, but to kill as many soldiers as possible while they are advancing.
Okay, Geeta, from the Russian side, does there appear to be inch by inch, are they taking new territory, and would that be then used as a bargaining chip during negotiations, or is Russia saying till the Dnieper or the Dnipro River, they will retain whatever they've taken?
Well, the negotiations and the talks have a few very clear red lines. The territories that have been taken by Russia, especially Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, and maybe parts of Zaporizhia, because it holds the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, are non-negotiable. Beyond that, there are conversations that are going to be, that Russia is willing to have. But these are areas that you're right, the Dnieper River is certainly going to become a natural boundary if Putin has it his way. Now, Ukraine, for the Ukrainian president, it would be untenable to accept ceding so much territory to Russia. But at this point in time, there's only that much leverage that Zelensky has over the United States of America, particularly Trump administration, and the fact that Europe is not really going to come stand and fight this war if America withdraws, Gaurav. These are realities that the two sides have to understand and live with, and one will have to wait and see whether if Putin and Trump are willing to talk and settle the war of words that we're seeing, the bickering that we're seeing on social media.
It just seems to be escalating. And, you know, the last 30 seconds I have on this part of the show, Sandeep, this is then World War II, or perhaps even World War I kind of trench warfare. Everyone wants to regain that one more patch of land to use as a bargaining chip. And in this battle of attrition, the one with more weapons and a bigger army and does appear to be Russia, does it have an edge?
Well, Gaurav, you hit the nail on the head. It's while Russia is threatening World War III, it's actually the situation on the ground is World War I. The kind of heavy attrition that both sides have been inflicting on each other, it is something that we have not seen possibly since the Second World War. It is bloody, it is brutal. And both sides can't advance, Gaurav, from the kind of first-person view drones that are being deployed by both sides. Now, they are two of the most largest manufacturers of FPV drones in the world, Russia and Ukraine. And both sides are reporting literally running into walls of FPV drones. It's almost impossible to advance on the front. So the fronts are more or less solidified, and you can only make advances at very great personal cost, like loss of lives. So we're hearing about a supposed Russian offensive that's supposed to happen in summer, but there doesn't seem to be any signs of that so far on the ground because, like I mentioned, it's descended into very bloody World War I kind of trench warfare with both sides running into these walls of drones, first-person view drones, and even, you know, wire-guided first-person view drones. I mean, this is literally, it transcends, you know, warfare from the First World War to the Second.
Absolutely.
And the overhang of a Third World War, which is the nuclear, you know, elephant in the room, Gaurav.
You know, you're absolutely right. When I was reporting from Ukraine, you could actually see hedgehogs and trenches and trench warfare and tanks and streets of Europe, like you probably read in, you know, Commando comics, and that was happening in front of you. And in all of that, you still have drones and first-person drones, you know, first-person view drones, where you have these drones coming in with machine guns and AK-47 rifles attacking the adversary. It's absolutely bizarre, this battle. Anna, please stay safe. But for joining me here from Kyiv, Anna Basova, many thanks, Geeta Mohan and Sandeep. Continue tracking that story. I will come back to you for more. That is all we have for you on India First this evening. Many thanks for watching.